Question 16, right? This question is going to cover net present value, sensitivity analysis, multiple capital rationing, right? We are going to do the linear programming and all. So this question is very important, right? In fact, this is the first question you should attempt if once you are done with your net advanced investment appraisal. That is your section B of your syllabus. Once you are done, so this is the first question I would recommend you to attempt because this is one of the easiest question, right? So before this, we'll go through the requirements first, right? A is asking calculate the net present value of the project. So there are 5 projects. Out of this, only the last project, project 5, you have to calculate the net present value. And calculate and comment on what percentage fall in the selling price would need to occur before the net present value falls to 0. So that means this is talking about sensitivity analysis only. By how many percentage sale price has to fall, by how many percentage cost has to increase before net present value falls to 0. This type of question means they are talking about sensitivity analysis. They might not mention this term, right? But indirectly they are asking you the sensitivity analysis only. How sensitive the selling price is to the net present value. Next, explain the strengths and weakness of net present value as a basis for making investment decision in a capital rationing situation. We know that net present value, if it's positive, we have to accept. If it's negative, we have to reject. But we also have to take care of that our finance are limited. We have capital rationing situation. We might have constraints. So in that case, what we have to do? So we have to talk about strengths and weakness of net present value. Most of the time, we have been doing the calculations of net present value. We are very mastered at that. We know how to calculate. But when a theory question like this is asked, what are the strengths and weakness of net present value? Most of you will panic and we might not be able to come up with answer. So that's why I have told you that this is the first question that you should attempt if you have done section B, right? Because when we start section B, we start our syllabus with net present value. So this is the base of that. This question is a base for that. Once you're done and you start this question, then you will know how much you have understood the concept, how much you are done with that portion or chapter. Right? For this, you just need your chapter 5. Yeah? You need chapter 5 only for this because that is your starting chapter for your section B. So now let's go to part B. Part B is asking formulate an appropriate capital rationing model based on the above investment limits that maximize net present value for department Dhruvo. Finding a solution for the model is not required. See, you never have to find a solution. The good thing is you just have to set up the equation, right? It's known as linear programming. So this is basically they're talking about formulate an appropriate model means they are talking about linear programming. This comes only in your multiple capital rationing, not single capital rationing. Multiple capital rationing means for different years you are having limits, you are having constraints. Only in that condition this comes. And part C, assume the following output is produced when the capital rationing model in part B above is solved. So you need part B before you solve part C because you need part B. They have told here. They have given you some values for product A, so category 1, 2 and the constants, right? Year 1, year 2, year 3, this leg is 0 and the constants. So you're required, right? Explain the figures produced in each of the 3 output categories. You just have to explain the figures in the 3 categories. Next part D. Provide a brief response to the managing director's opinion by explaining why the company may want to impose capital rationing on its department. So now this is theory part, why they might impose capital rationing. Second, explain the features of capital investment monitoring system and discuss the benefits of maintaining such a system. Whenever you are asked for theory part, this might be asked from you, right? This has been repeatedly asked. Capital rationing, what are the benefits of capital investment monitoring and all. Now we are going to go to the case study, right? Arbore company is a large listed company with many autonomous departments operating as an investment center. It sets investment limits for each department based on a 3-year cycle. Projects were selected by departments would have to fall within the investment limits set for each of the 3 years. All departments would be required to maintain a capital investment monitoring system and report on their findings annually to the board of directors, company's board of directors. The Dhruva department is considering the following 5 investment projects with 3 years of initial investment expenditure followed by several years of positive cash inflows. The department's initial investment expenditure limits are 9 million, 6 million, 5 million for years 1, 2, and 3. So these are what? These are your constraints for your multiple capital rationing when you need, right? These are your constraints. Only up to 9 million you can invest in year 1, only up to 6 million, and for 5 million for year 3. None of the projects can be deferred, and all projects can be scaled down but not scaled up. So now investment required at the start of year 1, year 2, year 3. So there is no year 0 from year 1 itself, right? You have to start the project. And then the net present value has been given for all the 4 projects except for the last one, which you have to calculate. Now, how you are going to calculate? Some figures has been given to you here. Okay, so this project's annual operating cash flow commences at the end of the year 4 and lasts for a period of 15 years. Commence at the end of year 4 and last for 15 years. The projects generate annual sales of how much? 300,000 units at a selling price of 14 per unit. So this is your selling, your sales, revenue, cash inflow, and incur total annual relevant cost of this. So this is the annual cost, cash outflow. Although the cost and units sold of the project can be predicted with a fair degree of certainty, there is a considerable uncertainty about the unit selling price. The department uses the required rate of return 11% for its projects, and inflation can be ignored. So 11% is what? Cost of capital. Cost of capital. You need cost of capital to find net present value. Inflation can be ignored. So there's no inflation, thank God, right? That's a good thing. Next. Here they're talking about capital rationing and also. Dhruvo department's managing director is of the opinion that all projects which return a positive net present value should be accepted and does not understand the reason why the company imposes capital rationing on its department. Furthermore, she is not sure why maintaining a capital investment monitoring system would be beneficial to the company, which you need to say, because he is not understanding why it is beneficial or why capital rationing is there, but you know, and you have to give the reasons. So first we have to find the net present value, right? So let's start. Right before we show you the marking scheme, I will show you, right? So annual sale is your selling price is 14 and your volume is 300,000 the unit. So your selling price into this, okay, which is 4.2 million sales revenue. Annual cost has been given, so annual cash flow will be, right, your 4.2 minus 3.23, right? That is your annual cash flow inflow, which is 0.97 million. Now they have told that it's starting from year 4 and it will be for 15 year. So 15-year annuity, right? Starting from year 4. This is very important. It starts from year because the discounting factor which you use will then you have to convert it back, right, to year 0. From year 4 you are taking, right, for 15 years. So all of them needs to be taken to year 0 back, needs to be discounted back to year 0, right? So let's see how they are taking. What is the initial investment? 2.5. It is 2,500,000. That's why here they are taking 2.5 and it's in brackets, right? All these are your what investment. Next, we have 1.2 and then we have 1.4. We need to discount it by what? What is the discount factor? 11%. It has been given at 11%, right? So that's why even this is being discounted as 0.901 at 11% you are taking. 1 divided by 1.11. and here it will be for the second year, right? Even though this falls in year 1, but there will be no discounting factor. Because it is starting immediately in year 1. But basically it is year 0 only, so there's no discounting factor for that. It will be 2.5 million only. Discounting factor starts from here 1.2, 1.4, and then next your annual cash flow. This is your annual cash flow, this 0.97, which you have calculated, because this is for 1, 2, 3 and year 4. And when it's year 4, from year 4 onwards for 15 years, it's an annuity factor. So for year 4, 11%, right? 4, 11%, 15 years, this is the annuity factor. Go and check the table. You should know how to get the figure from the table. You should know how to use that table, annuity factor table. And then you need to discount this back to year 0, right? How you're going to discount it? It will be 1 divided by 1.11, because 11% to the power 3. 0.731 basically. So this is your discounting factor. Even though it's year 4, right? But it is 0, 1, 2, 3. So cash flow is 0. Immediate investment. So 0, 1, 2, 3. But they'll be writing as 1, 2, 3, 4. From your 4-year onwards means the third year's discount factor, this year's discount factor, which is 0.731. So you have to use this discount factor from year 4 onwards, right? The latest discount factor is year 3, that is 0.731. Thereafter, whatever the cash flows you have to discount it back. If you want to discount it back to year 0, you have to use that discount factor only, right? That's why this all are outflows and this is only inflow, and you are getting a positive net present value. Now we have to find the sensitivity. To get a net present value of 0, the total present value of the project's annual cash flow needs to equal the sum of the present value of the investment amount. Yes, your inflow needs to be equal to your outflow. That's how you will get your net present value as 0, right? So now you have to add all your outflow, 2.5, 1.081, 1.3, all this you are taking from here. And it needs to be equal to your, so this is the total of your outflow. This needs to be equal to inflow as well. But your inflow, if you see it as 5.099, this would mean annual cash flows we need to fall to, right? So your annual cash flow has to fall down, because if you see your annual as this, your inflow is this much, but your outflow is something 4.718. So your inflow has to be reduced for it to be equal to your outflow. How it will be equal? Now let's take this, right? This divided by, so basically this thing, okay? You have to see here, check this, hold this part, hold this part. This is your inflow, right? So for that, it has to be equal to what? It is now 5.099, but it has to be equal to your outflow. Your outflow is 4.718. So it has to be equal to 4.718, equal to 0.97 multiplied by 7.191 multiplied by 0.731, right? So this is your cash inflow, 0.97. This has to be different. It cannot be 0.97. Let's take it as X. We don't know the amount. So now make X the subject. You should know basic maths. Bring this on the other side. It will be 7191 multiplied by, because you see your discounting factor and your annuity factor 7.191 and 0.731 will be fixed only. What will change only that 0.97, that your cash inflow will change. That needs to be changed. So now if you calculate it, it is falling down. your inflow has to be 0.897, not 0.97. With 0.97 you are getting this amount, 5.099. So here it is 0.897. It is falling down. So how much it is falling down? Sales revenue would need to fall to how much? This, right? Your cash inflow plus this. What is this 3.23 million? This is your outflow. Just check the annual cost. Annual cost. It's like now you are having here, right? Sales minus cost is your revenue, is your cash flow, right? So if you want to find sales, it will be your cash, okay, plus cost. So your cash is already 0.897. What is your cost? 3.23. You are working the other way to get this amount. That's why you want to find sales, so you have to add your cash and cost. That's why you're adding 3.23 and you are getting this much of sales. Now this sale also, only your sale price will change, but your volume will remain the same. That's why this million divided by 300,000. So you are getting the sale price. Selling price will change, but your volume will remain fixed at 300,000. They told how much selling price has to fall down. So if you see, before the selling price was how much? 14. Now it is falling down to 13.76. What is that change? It has to change by 1.7%. So the percentage sale price has to fall by 1.7% before net present value can be 0. So what is the conclusion? You need to write a conclusion. The net present value of the project is very sensitive to changes in the selling price of the product. Why very sensitive? Because even a small change, 1.7% change in the selling price can reduce the net present value. If a small change can reduce the net present value, what do we say? We say it is highly sensitive or it's very sensitive. So the conclusion, when you have to work with sensitivity, it is like this. Higher the percentage, better it is. Remember this. Higher the percentage of, right, this percentage. Higher, better it is. Higher means, see, anything, whether you take a cost, whether you take a revenue, whatever it is, to change by a very small amount is very easy. But to change by a bigger amount is very difficult, like in reality. So higher that percentage, better it is. You are safe. But smaller the percentage, it is more riskier. So for sensitivity also, this is very risky, 1.7%. So just a small increase in selling price, just from 14 to 13.76, could make the net present value 0 or even negative also if it's more than 1.7%, meaning the project would not be worthwhile. Just writing sensitivity, I'm finding some percentage is not enough. This has to be there. Conclusion is to be given. Now we'll see the benefits and the net present value and all, right? And good thing about this is you can copy paste this answer in your future also. Like you can learn, you can pick up the points from here itself. You will not get these points in your textbook also. Some answers you will only get from your revision kit only, or mocks or past papers. You will never get in your textbook. So let's say the net present value gives an absolute figure which shows the increase in shareholders fund as a result of investment in particular project. Yes, absolute figure we know, 10,000, 20,000, right? So if the capital is unlimited, then this is the measure that should determine the project to be invested in. If capital is unlimited, no problem. Positive net present value, accept it because it will increase the shareholders' wealth. But if capital is limited, like in this case, then it is also necessary to consider the amount of limited capital required by the project. Capital rationing decisions are often more complicated than identifying the ranking by net present value. Some of the complications of capital rationing problems are as follows. So these are some of the problems of capital rationing. We'll see. If capital is restricted in one period, then it is highly likely to also be restricted in the next and subsequent periods as well. A multi-period capital model will therefore be required. Second, projects are unlikely to possess the same characteristics. For example, some projects may contain real options with follow-on opportunities, right? I'm sure you know what are the real options. There are 4 types of real options. What are they? Option to delay, option to switch, option to redeploy, option to abandon. Okay, so other projects may have a greater strategic significance which outweigh other financial considerations, and some projects may be one-off projects which can only be undertaken in a particular period. So other projects may be able to be delayed and then commence in the following period. You can even copy paste this answer. Now let's go to part B, where we have to set up a linear programming model. So a multi-period capital rationing model would use linear programming. What is it? So always you have to start like this. Exactly, you can copy paste this in your answer. Whenever you get a question on linear programming, exactly this is the way you have to do. The only thing will, the numbers will change. But the way you start, everything is same. Only the numbers will change. That's it. So here you have to start like this. You have to give something, some number or some letter to it. So let's say there are 5 projects. So let X1 be project investment in project 1. Let X2 be project investment in project 2. Let X3 be, it could be any number, any letter. You can take Y, Y1, you can take M1, you can take X1, anything it could be. Here they are saying X, right? So X3, project 3. Y4, sorry, X4, investment in project 4. So first you have to set up this. This is step 1. Without this, you cannot proceed. This has to be there. Then comes this step 2. What is the objective? What is the objective? Objective is always to maximize the net present value. Clearly they have told what is the objective is to maximize the net present value, right? This equation, how they are getting this equation, go and check the net present value, this table. Here, this, all these figures you have to take, and then not provided, you have just now found the net present value. That net present value you have to use there. So let's say for this first one, it is 464,000 into which project? X1, project 1. This will be multiplied by X2, project 2, X3, project 3, X4, project 4, X5, project 5. Like that you have to take. So these are the figures they are taking here. Right? Just see 464, X1, 244, all this they're taking. And if you want to check for 5, what was the net present value we got for 5? 0.381 million. That means it is 381,000. Right? This difference could be maybe to rounding up, because there you have rounded up, right? So because of that rounding up, that difference is there, but that net present value only you have to use. Now comes the step 3. This is step 3. You have to give the following constants. You have to write it like this: constant year 1, constant year 2, constant year 3. What is the constant? And you have to multiply all by the project x1, x2, x3, x4, like this. But for year 1, let's go and check. Stable. Let's see. Just check. This are the limit: 9 million, 6 million, 5 million. So first year it has to be less or equal to 9 million. Second year it will be less or equal to 6 million. Third year it will be less or equal to 5 million. Right? And you are taking the numbers from here. All this. Let's say if you are taking for year 1. So you are taking 4 million into x1, 800 into x2, 3.2 into x3, 3.9 into x4, 2.5 into x5. Which will be less or equal to 9 million, because for year 1 constant is 9 million. Just see. Less or equal to is very important. It is less or equal to, always. Right? And this figure you can take from the table. And step 4. This is step 4. And where x1, x2, x3, x4 less or equal to 0. Now let's go. You have to explain what each category means in C. So category 1. Let's go to category 1. What is category 1? Category 1, they have just given the total final value 1 million something. So what is it? Let's see. that is the net present value. This figure is the maximum net present value that can be earned with the given constraints on capital expenditure. This is why this figure is less than the total net present value of all 5 of the projects. One thing you can do is add all the 5 net present value from all the 5 projects and see it will be less than this, the figure which they have given under category 1. This figure will be less than the total, because you cannot take all the projects because of capital rationing. Sorry, which figure? Where is the figure? This figure. It will be less than if you add all the 5 years projects net present value. Next, category 2, adjusted finable value. So you have been given some value, and if you see, all of them are less than 1, 0 or less than 1, but it's not negative, right? It cannot be negative because it has to be equal to or greater than 0. What does it mean? You have to understand what the numbers mean, even if you don't have to solve the equation. So category 1, category 2 and category 3. Category 2, okay. These are the proportions of each project that should be undertaken to achieve the maximum net present value given in category 1. In this situation, all of this one, 95.8% of project 1, 73.2% of project 3, 40.7% of project 2 should be undertaken. There should be no investment at all in project 4. Why no investment in project 4? Because project 4 is 0 and project 5 is 100% because it is 1. 1 means 100%. And this 0.958 means 95.8% in project 1, 40.7% project 2, 73.2% project 3. You have to invest to get the maximum net present value. Now let's go to category 3. What is that category 3? Let's see. Constant utilized 9 million, 6 million, 5 million and slag is 0. So what does it mean? Right? This figure shows the use of the constants in each period and also any slag or investment funds unused in each period. As can be seen here, the constants are fully utilized and there is no slag in any of the period. So the good thing is the constant has been fully utilized, right? There is no year where the constants are not fully utilized. If the constants are not fully utilized, you will see that there will be some slag. But the good thing is there is no slag in any of the period. That's what it means. Now let's go to this. Why capital rationing is there and what are the benefits of capital investment monitoring system. So we'll just quickly go through this. The reason why I'm going through this is so that you can, because this is a question which has a very high chance of appearing in your exam. I don't go through all the theory questions, but some theory questions I go through because I find that is very helpful and it will be repeated. Okay, so part D. First part is about why capital rationing. So generally speaking, a project with a positive net present value should be undertaken by a company and increases shareholder wealth by generating return in excess of required return. In case the company appears to be imposing internal limits on the amount of capital available for investment for each department, this may be due to budgetary limits of the amount the company wants to borrow. Maybe the company wants to put a budget on the amount they have to borrow because they know if they have to invest in all the project, they might have to borrow from the bank, which they don't want to do because it might increase their debt, it might increase their gearing ratio, it might make them more risky, and they also have to pay a very high amount of interest, which they don't want. So due to that reasons, maybe the company, the management itself might put some limit, right, that they don't want to invest. And this type of factors, this internal factors, are known as soft capital rationing. Now we are going to talk about two benefits of investment monitoring system. Okay, so a capital investment monitoring system is used to monitor the ongoing progress of capital investment project. They just check the progress once the decision to proceed has been taken. The CIMS, capital investment monitoring system, will set a plan of how the project is to proceed and also a budget for the project. You can even take a screenshot of this or copy paste it, but right, what are the benefits of capital investment monitoring system? Because such questions are not in your textbook, this questions you will only get in revision kit. It has been asked in many papers. It will set project milestones and when they need to be achieved by. It will also consider the potential external internal risk to the project. Contingency plans will be drawn up to deal with this identifiable risk if necessary. The CIMS will ensure that project progress in line with the plan and budget. Basically, this is like a project management, right? In project management also, what do? You check the progress. You check whether they're on the track or not, whether they have the resources, what are the risks, how much money they need, what are the plans, contingency plans, all this you check. What are the budget? Are they in the budget? Or they're overspending? So all these things you're checking or keeping a track, which is very similar to capital investment monitoring system also does the same thing only, right? Next, benefit. So the benefit of this to the company includes the fact that it attempts to ensure that the project meets its budgeted revenue and expenditure. It also helps to ensure that the project is completed on time and that the identified risk factors are still valid. Part of the role has to identify a critical path of linked activities which will be vital to delivering project on time. Participating departments should also take a proactive approach towards managing the risk of the project and may be able to reduce cost as a result. In addition, the company should be used. See this. Okay, CMAS should be used as a main of communication between the project managers and monitoring team. Basically, this is about project management tool they are using, right? Now we'll go to the marking scheme, and that's it. We are done with this question. So we'll see for part A where we have to calculate net present value and sensitivity analysis. 2 marks for finding the net present value, 3 marks for the percentage fall, that is sensitivity analysis, and 1 mark for comment. Always commenting is very important. Whenever you do some calculation, comment. Do some calculation, comment. Next, 1 mark per relevant point. Right? Part B, linear programming. To objective function, the formulation of objective function, that is to maximize the net present value is only 1 mark, and formulation of constants for year 1, 2, 3, 2 marks. Next, to understand each category 1, 2, and 3, 1 mark for category 1, 2, and 3 for category 2 and 3. And finally, part D, explanation is 1 to 2, and explanation, the features of CIMS is, and the benefit is 2 to 3. Right? So that's it. Hope you like this video, and if you have liked this video, put the hit like button, the thumbs up, and share this with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. And thank you. Take care.